is going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome on into today's Union Talk Live as we are discussing the Philadelphia Union's Tuesday afternoon signing as they have acquired Andres Perea from Orlando City FC and a total of $150,000. And there are some incentives involved in this move. There is also a transfer fee that tacked on that Orlando put on this as well for the future. And this is the first domino to fall in the Union offseason. And now that we look back at it, this is one of the pieces that Ernst Tanner also discussed. Look, just right off the bat, what you're getting here in Andres Perea is a young 22-year-old midfielder who still we're trying to figure out what his position is. He's played a lot of different positions in his young career, stemming with Atlético Nacional over in Colombia, and of course here in the United States with Orlando City. He obviously has a dual citizenship. He's Colombian-American, and here for the Philadelphia Union, you add here a midfielder who continues to add on to one of the key pillars of this club, and that is building from within. That is then developing the young. And obviously as well, this adds on to the depth that the Union are always trying to build upon. So the question is, how will this kid fit in with this squad? He's played all over the field, and obviously right now there is a logjam in the midfield. But we're going to discuss why this was a great move here for the Philadelphia Union. Real quick, I want to welcome everyone here to my channel. Of course, I'm your boy, Parcero Philly, the united of all things sports and culture in the beautiful city of Philadelphia. I want to welcome you too. Thank you so much for tuning on in. Again, we're trying to get these quick recordings in. We talked in depth about this signing yesterday on Dude by the River. So if you want to check that out, that is right now on this YouTube channel. You guys can check that out. We had Todd Lewis from the Free Kick podcast hopping on Dude by the River. So that was a great one. So this is going to be a quick condensed one because, we got to get that content out there, guys. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? But let's get straight to it. So Andres Perea, 22 years old, like I mentioned, Colombian-American international. He did represent for Colombia in the under-17s and in the under-20s. In 2021, he decided to do his one-time switch, and he is now representing the U.S. men's national team. He's within the system. He's had some calls for the under-23s, and the future is still up in the air for Andres. Now, obviously, he's coming to a situation in Philadelphia where we could obviously help his stock, and maybe whoever is going to be the U.S. men's national team coach possibly, raise the attention. Hey, I'm bald. I'm here in Philly. I'm here where a lot of Americans, players, and honestly internationals want to come and compete and want to get some minutes in their national team. So that's definitely a big plus for Andres Perea to come here. Right off the bat, you're getting from what it looked like in Orlando, he was more of a CDM. If you guys know anything about Orlando and kind of the system that they run, it was mainly a 4-3-3, two midfielders that kind of played as CDMs, and they were kind of a lot like they were pivot midfielders as well. And so Andres Perea was someone who was in the limbo and was competing with others on Orlando City. Mendez, who got traded to LAFC, you had Junior Urso. So there was a lot of competition at that position, and Perea kind of lost out on that role, which kind of made him available. And luckily for Ernst Tanner, he's always scouting, he's always looking at young talent all throughout the world, and he decided to go back into the MLS market. And right off the bat, that was my first reaction was, I think that the MLS market can be very valuable. I mean, if you look at the way LAFC built their team, look at all the MLS vets they had on that team, and I don't know if that was exactly the difference of why they won the MLS Cup over us, but it was definitely a huge factor, especially in a long season and when you're trying to compete for Supporter Shield. It definitely came in clutch. And so it's a market that Ernst is slowly starting to learn, I feel. And I think that with the success of Julian Carranza, I know a lot of people want to compare this move to Julian Carranza, and I think that is very fair to do so. Both of these guys were outcasted by Florida clubs that, let's face it, are kind of being are a little underwhelming in the way they are ran, essentially. But they are guys who have so much raw talent. And like Julian Carranza has so much raw talent as he came here to Philadelphia. And all he needed was an opportunity, and all he needed was a significant role. Julian's role this season was very simple. He played mainly as that center forward. Michael Urre was all over the pitch. He was kind of that link-up forward, and he created a lot of opportunities. And Julian Carranza was able to thrive off them. We saw, what did we score, like 12 goals this season? Like he as I drop my mic, as I fumble my mic. He had a fantastic season. So can Andres Perea have that same impact? To answer that question, we have to figure out what his role will kind of be with this team. Now, obviously, like I mentioned, Andres Perea mainly played as a CDM, and obviously here in Philly, we have a kind of a logjam of CDM when you have El Brujo Martinez, one of the best CDMs. We'll talk about his future in a little bit. But you also have Leon Flock, who also can play CDM, and you can make the argument that he probably plays better as a sixth than he does as a shuttler, box-to-box midfielder. And then, of course, you got Jack McGlynn, who does feel more comfortable playing from deep from what I have witnessed. And then, of course, you still got like guys like Jesus Bueno still hanging around, and we don't know what the future of him holds. And let's not forget Richard Odala is still out there. He impressed thoroughly against Pachuca in that friendly, and the future is bright for him. And so this move adds on to that depth that we always keep talking about. And when you have more competitions this year, and you heard Ernst talk about the player pool is going to be 27-28. This move was kind of inevitable. And plus, Ernst kind of alluded to the fact that this offseason, we're looking at a midfielder, we're looking at an attacker, and we're looking at a center back. So if that shopping list is true, then we have checked off the midfielder of that, and we're on to 2 other positions. But I did have the feeling, and I did have the wish that Andres Perea was coming here to be the potential replacement for Alejandro Bedoya. And right off the bat, when you watch the tape on him play, and you're thinking to yourself, can he be a box-to-box shuttle midfielder? From what I see, he's very tenacious. Reminds you a little bit like Brujo Martinez, always is trying to look to win the ball. He does, however, have that attacking ability, and I don't think he had to use it pretty often in Orlando. And so here in Philadelphia, where the name of the game is developing the young, and Andres is pretty young, and I think the plan is to kind of allow him to sit back, watch the game, learn from Alejandro Bedoya, and possibly replace Alejandro Bedoya. The guy can play. I thoroughly believe he can play that position. It's just going to take a little developing, and that's fine. There is no rush of getting him out there. But if you do need someone off the bench, you don't have to rely on Jack McGlynn. You don't have to rely on trying to fit Quinn Sullivan in there. You get a guy, Andres Perea, who's pretty versatile in his game. So this move, to me, number one, you attack the MLS market like you love. Number two, you add on to the depth here. And number three, you just get a young kid who's hungry and looking to continue growing. I mean, Orlando City thought of him highly. And honestly, it's mostly Philly. Philly thought of him highly to want to pay want to agree to a future transfer fee. I mean, who knows? Maybe this kid gets sold off to Mexico. This kind of feels like that type of move. Moves on to the MLS for one more team, develops and gets sold off to Mexico. It sounds like that type of move, but we'll see what happens. But it does raise another question. Like, you do have a logjam at the midfield, and you do have a lot of guys who have a defensive mindset. Could one of these guys get sold off? And I do have like the slight feeling that maybe El Brujo Martinez could be that guy. He's a guy who's got a lot of rumors surrounding him. And it just feels like if there was going to be someone in the midfield that would get sold, it would be Jose El Brujo Martinez. But regardless, whether he's here or he's not here, you're still in a good situation regardless, right? And you're still obviously making some dough as well. Overall, I do think that this doesn't change that at all. I don't think that could change anything. I could see if someone is interested in Brujo Martinez, the union are going to listen, and the union will make the right move if it does come there. So what's next now? So now you have signed that midfielder. If the rumors are true, what Ernst Tanner was talked about is true as well, then you're looking at potentially another attacker. What would that be, right? Like, we talked about on Dude by the River, and Todd and Justin had some great thoughts. And I think what I'm looking for in an attacker is obviously depth piece, and it's obviously someone who is just a mismatch nightmare. You look at Corey Burke, you look at El Senior, you look at Anthony Fontana. Some of these guys who've been super subs, who come off the bench and help in the attack, a lot of these guys have a little bit of something. Corey Burke, whether it be him just using his size and his speed, especially on defense, on the pressing, and that obviously worked to his ability, especially when you're talking about tired legs after 60 minutes and him coming in for 30. Anthony Fontana having that shot from outside. El Sino being able to take on 1v1. El Sino being able to take on defenders 1v1. And I think that the Union are going to try to find a guy who can do something in particular that can be a mismatch for different teams. And obviously center back, I think they're going to look for something younger, like in the 20s. I think it could be like a South American option, something within the 300,000 to 400,000 range. I think the attacker will be from the 800,000 to $1,000,000. I think that's where you're going to be looking at, especially as a backup. Again, depth is the key here with all these competitions, especially Champions League, especially with the fact that you know how Champions League scheduling is. It kind of doesn't help MLS teams because all these other leagues in CCL are already in the midst of their season, and the MLS hasn't even gotten started. So I think that finding a depth piece in the attack that's worth 800,000 to $1,000,000 is going to be important. But one thing we can rely on is Ernst Tanner. He's a beast. When he knows what he's looking for, and when he wants something, he will do whatever it takes to go get it. And obviously, he's turned this Union team into a feeder club. I know some people don't like to hear that, but it's a successful feeder club. We just went to the MLS Cup, and we're not done yet. So, yeah, I'm excited for Luis Pereira. Not happy that we got a Verdolaga. It's okay. It's all right. Hey, listen, that's really dope, though, because this is an American-born Colombian player. There's still, like, stigma in Colombia when it comes to American players. And, you know, they even did the same thing to Ivan Poveda, who was the British Colombian who they kind of just exiled. He wanted to play for the national team. They said, no, you already suited up for England. And so now for Andres Perea, he's U.S. He's USMNT. But it's a very valuable experience being able to play with Atlético Nacional, who continue to build. And, you know, every time you look at the Colombian national team, when they're going through golden era, you have like 3 or 4 players from Atlético Nacional. So that should just tell you everything. So love this move. I can't wait for more. We got another Colombian. Hey, another Colombian American, Alejandro Bedoya and Luis Pereira and Andres Perea. So it's all fun and games. We'll see what happens more. And when there's more news, I will be breaking it to you. Obviously, we still have Duke by the River. That's gonna do it for this Union Talk. Real quick one. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe for more Philly sports. Until next time, I'm El Parcero Philly. I'm telling you guys to do on. Talk to you guys soon.